It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Let's get out of here. Aye. Hey everybody, it's Aaron from God a Minute coming at you with some more numbers and charts. All right, so this is a lot of math, a little bit of speculation, but you can't really wiggle it out too much more than this. So without further ado, I'll explain what I wrote down here. Okay. So the Davidic covenant, and this was presented to me, this whole concept by Keith in my Discord, so thanks, bro. And I'll present what I have. I can show you some articles and some websites, but the thing is, you're going to have conflicting dates and conflicting articles all day long, and it's going to be like that until we fly. So this is kind of just a tie-in with some different concepts and different timelines, okay? So I'm not quite sure if this is 100% accurate, but it's probably really close. Let's get started. So I've talked about David dying in 971 BC, around 970 BC, 971 BC, and King David died if Jesus died in 30 AD, that's exactly 1,000 years before the death of Christ on the cross. So that is death to death, 1,000 years. Okay, so that's pretty perfect there if that is the case. This 5 BC is when I think that Jesus was born, and again, you'll get different timelines with this. But if he got anointed to rule over Israel in this year, that would have been exactly 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. So King David taking over Israel, and from the birth of Jesus would be 1,000 years. You know, some timelines will say 1004, and some people think he was born in 4 BC, etc. You guys know what I'm talking about. Everybody has a different perspective and a year off here and there. But there is 1,000 years between him taking over Israel and the birth of Christ, more or less. And there's 1,000 years between the death of King David and the death of Jesus, more or less. Now, again, some articles say that 977 was the Davidic covenant. That's what we're talking about here. And again, some articles will bounce it to 976, 978, etc. You're going to find all these numbers all over the place. But if it was in 978, it would be a 7-year gap between the covenant and the death of David. So hold that thought for a second. Let's go over here. We know that the tribulation is 7 years. Okay. So if the Davidic covenant was in 978 BC, that is exactly 3,000 years before 2023. All right. So the Davidic covenant of giving David the everlasting, his kingdom will reign through Christ eventually. That's potentially 3,000 years before 2023. Now, another 3,000 years is from the death of King David to 2030, 7-year gap. Now, some people say, you know, where do you see the 7-year tribulation? It's not written anywhere. But again, it's in types and shadows. And here's one other example of a 7-year thing that's kind of just hidden in plain sight. But 2 Samuel 12:18, this is when David takes Uriah's wife Bathsheba, and he gets her pregnant, and Nathan says he's going to die. But let's go to 2 Samuel 12. And the Lord struck, this is verse 15, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bore to David, and it became ill. David therefore pleaded with God for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground. So the elders of the house arose and went to him to raise him up from the ground, but he would not, nor did he eat food with them. Then on the 7th day it came to pass that the child died. On the 7th day, it's not 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 8 days, 9 days, 10 days. It's 7 days. This is actually really significant, in my opinion. And by the way, the word child in Strong's is H2320. I am with child. Over here, the Strong's number is H2030. Child. Child is 2030. So that child, after 7 days, died. Okay, so if you go back to this whole picture, David being a type and shadow of everything, he mourned for 7 days. But then after the 7 days of mourning, which I just read, he got up and just moved on. And like, wow, you just moved on. He's like, yeah, well, he's dead. Can't do nothing now. So here we have this 7-year gap here. We have a potential 7-year gap here. It kind of lines, these two things line up with those two things. We have a 1,000-year gap between the deaths. We have a 1,000-year gap between the anointing and the birth. It all adds up. It's really nice. We are certainly in a special season. I thought I'd just present that math to you. I think it's very exciting. And you know what? It's time to get tight with Christ, enter into a relationship with Jesus. I have all my salvation verses in my description box below, as always. If you need to talk it out with anybody, hop on our Discord, and we'll be glad to walk you through it. All right. Go Team Jesus. Go Jesus, go. See you in the clouds. One day closer. Adios, muchachos.
Hallelujah, I'll see you.